Hello and welcome to this edition of Back in History. In Back in History, we take you back in time to the events that occurred in the historical past. In this video, we continue in our series on the names, faces, and profiles of the 7 majors that planned and executed the first military coup in Nigeria. We have already done videos on 6 of them, namely Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzeogu, Major Emmanuel Ifeajuna, Major Timothy Onwatuegu, Major Christian Anuforo, Major Donatus Okafor, and Major Humphrey Chukwuka. In this video, we focus on Major Adewale Ademoyega, the only major from the Yoruba ethnic group in the coup. Welcome to this edition of Back in History. All the 7 majors were assigned roles in the coup. Those in the north had roles to play, and those in the south also had roles to play. Ademoyega was the person assigned to make the early morning broadcast of the successful execution of the coup and change of government. This was to be done on Radio Nigeria. Nigerians were expected to wake up to the news of the change of government. Recall that by the agreement of the coup plotters, each executor of the coup was to carry out his assignment within the hours of 2:30 a.m. and 2:45 a.m. By their calculation, everything was to be done and dusted before daybreak, and Ademoyega was to move into the studios of Radio Nigeria and make the national broadcast. But the coup failed, and the broadcast was never made. Rather, Ademoyega had to run for his life until he was arrested and detained. Ademoyega was a well-trained military officer. He had a solid educational background. He was trained at home in Nigeria and also trained in Europe. Before joining the Nigerian Army, Ademoyega held a first degree in history from the University of London. He was one of the first set of graduates to join the Nigerian Army. With a degree in history in his kitty at the time, he was commissioned directly into the army. History records that after his enrollment, the policy on direct commission of graduates into the Nigerian Army changed. He was thus the last graduate to be so enrolled and commissioned directly into the army. Before him were graduates like Chukwuemeka Odumegwu-Ojukwu, Victor Banjo, Olufemi Olutoye, Emmanuel Ifeajuna, and Oluwole Rotimi. Most of them were educated in universities in the United Kingdom, which was a go-to country for Nigerians at the time. Ademoyega had a successful career in the army and was climbing the ladder of promotion so fast. With a university degree in his hand, at a time that many graduates in the country did not find the military interesting at all, Ademoyega's promotion was rapid and his contributions to the military was highly appreciated. There was career prospects, and if nothing had gone wrong, he would have ascended the ladder to the rank of general in the Nigerian Army before retirement. But this was not to be. His career prospects were truncated by his involvement in the planning and execution of the first military coup in Nigeria. He was one of the 7 majors in the plot, and his assignment was in the Lagos flank of the coup. The coup failed, and Ademoyega was arrested and detained in prison, and his career in the Nigerian Army came to an abrupt end from the day of the execution of the coup. Of all the majors in the coup, the only person that gave a written account of the events before and after the coup was Adewale Ademoyega. The title of his book is Why We Struck. In the first chapter of the book, Ademoyega narrates the political events that precipitated their conception of the plan to carry out a coup. He stated that the political class of the new country had drifted the country apart by their conduct, which had led to the political upheavals that engulfed the then western region of Nigeria, leading to the declaration of Nigeria's first state of emergency by the then Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa. Adewale stated that the political class had not behaved well enough in the First Republic in the way and manner that was expected of them by many. Ademoyega also alleged in his book that the political class had become increasingly corrupt, thus the need for the coup plotters to come together with a view to removing them and redirecting the country from further drifting. This was to be carried out in an unconventional manner, namely through a bloody military coup. Every member of the coup plot was given a specific assignment. For Ademoyega, he was assigned to work with one captain and 3 junior soldiers. They were to occupy and take absolute control of all strategic locations of the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos, including the control room at the police headquarters in Lagos. They were also assigned to take control of the P&T telephone exchange, the Nigeria External Communication Room, and the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation and Parliament Building. This group was also assigned to set up roadblocks at strategic locations in the city of Lagos. Lagos was Nigeria's federal capital at the time. Ademoyega was to make the early morning broadcast on Radio Nigeria as stated earlier. It was a well-coordinated plan, and the coup plotters verily believed that the coup will go as planned, and that once the early morning broadcast is made by Ademoyega, the coup plot would have been successfully executed and a new set of leaders would emerge for the country. Ademoyega played his part and took his position in collaboration with the soldiers assigned to work with him. Others also took their respective positions in the same Lagos, which was the Federal Capital Territory and seat of power at the time. They also took positions in Ibadan, which was the capital of the Western region, Kaduna, which was the capital of the Northern region, and in Enugu, which was the capital of the Eastern region. The operations did not, however, go as planned. In some places it was successful and the targets were all rounded in. One of such places that the coup plotters had almost 100% success was in the Northern region, but in the Lagos flank, the coup was not as successful as was planned, notwithstanding the fact that several very important persons had been killed in Lagos. In the final analysis, the coup failed, and Ademoyega had to run for his life and never made the planned national broadcast. His already prepared speech became wasted in his hands. He escaped from Lagos and ran to be with Nzogu in Kaduna in the Northern region, which Nzogu had taken hold of after successfully executing his part of the coup. Ademoyega narrates his arrest in his book as follows, quote, 2 weeks after the arrest of Nzogu, one of us, Timothy Onwatuegu, and I were invited to the police headquarters in Kaduna. Believing that I was extremely dangerous, the British police officer in charge summoned me to a special room. Then he called a few policemen who were in mufti and winked to them. They suddenly surrounded me and dealt heavy blows on me. I did not struggle with them. They pushed me to the floor and pressed me down. I thought they would produce a knife and cut my throat, but they ransacked my pockets and pants and gleefully declared, quote, no weapons. After that, they chained my hands, took me to a waiting Land Rover to which Timothy Onwatuegu was also brought, chained but not assaulted. We were driven to the airport from where we were flown to Lagos and detained inside the maximum security Kirikiri prison. The first revolutionary child of Nigeria died completely. End of quote. From Lagos, Ademoyega was later moved to the federal prison Uyo, located at the Wellington Basiwe End in present-day Akwa Ibom State. One of his other colleagues, Emmanuel Ifajuna, was also detained in the same prison. They all waited in expectation that the new government led by General Agui Ironsi would set up a military court-martial to try them and determine their fate, but the regime did not set up any court-martial. The coup plotters were kept in different prisons and their salaries were paid in full. 6 months after the first coup, there was another military coup in the country, and in the said coup, the head of state, General Agui Ironsi, was killed. Another military government was then brought in place to replace Ironsi. The new regime was led by a 32-year-old northern Nigerian Christian by name Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon. Gowon did not also order for the trial of the coup plotters. They remained in prisons. The only thing Gowon did to them was to reduce their salaries to half. Not long after Gowon took over, a part of Nigeria was broken away and named the Republic of Biafra by the governor of the Eastern Region, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu. Nigeria was never going to be the same again. Gowon then deployed forces to fight a war with Biafra with a view to keeping Nigeria one. Ojukwu on his part was also prepared to present a formidable affront to the war. To do this, Ojukwu needed experienced hands to lead and assist him in the fight. He took a decision to release all such military men that were in detention facilities within the eastern region of Nigeria, now declared as Biafra. This is how the likes of Major Adewale Ademoyega was released from prison on the orders of Ojukwu and deployed to the war front to fight for Biafra against Nigeria. At the time of his release, Ademoyega was in the federal prison's Warri. The person who went into the Warri prison to bring him out was one of the 7 majors that executed the coup with him, namely Major Humphrey Chukwuka. This was done on the orders of the Supreme Commander of the then Republic of Biafra, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu. Ademoyega was quickly deployed to the war front, particularly in the western region of Nigeria, which had been invaded by Biafran troops on the orders of the Supreme Commander. Ojukwu's intention was to take full control of the region and advance forward to capture Lagos, the seat of power. This move later turned out to be a highly misplaced and regrettable decision to have been taken by Ojukwu. Analysts have said that the Mid-Western adventure was rather a misadventure and was not necessary at all. That Ojukwu ought to have concentrated his hold on the eastern region alone with a view to successfully establishing the independent state of Biafra. Nigerian troops staged a counterattack and dislodged Biafran forces from the Mid-Western region at a huge cost to the Biafran dream. Ademoyega had no option than to obey the command. He took up arms and fought at the front lines for Biafra. On 20th September 1967, the unexpected happened to him. He was arrested in Benin on the orders of the Supreme Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Ojukwu, and taken to Enugu, which was the capital of Biafra. He was taken to meet with the Supreme Commander and answer to charges of conspiracy to topple the leadership of Biafra. Others were also arrested on the same allegation. They were Victor Banjo, Emmanuel Ifajuna, Agbam, and Alade. All the persons arrested were taken before a military court-martial, pronounced guilty, lined up, and shot on the orders of the Supreme Commander. Ademoyega was lucky. He was not shot. He was paid by a stroke of luck. He, however, lost his freedom and he was moved to prison, where he stayed from September 1967 till the end of the war in 1970. He seems to have been forgotten in prison, and this was his saving grace. In his book, Why We Struck, Ademoyega narrates that he saw hell in prison, that he witnessed the worst form of human starvation in the Biafran prison, and that he only remained alive by the divine. He only regained his freedom upon the handover of Biafra to Nigeria by Philip Effiong and the leadership of Biafra at the time. He stated that at Amici, where the handover of Biafra was officially done to Obasanjo in the house of Colonel Achuzia, he, Ademoyega, was present. That Obasanjo saw him and took great pity on him, as he had become a ghost of his former self and had become more of a skeleton. Obasanjo, a fellow Yoruba by tribe, offered to take him in his vehicle to stay in his guest house in Port Harcourt, but according to Ademoyega, he turned down the offer. Ademoyega was free but had nothing left with him. He was in abject poverty. His career and life had been turned upside down for the singular reason of his involvement in the January 1966 military coup. He made his way back home. He was the only Yoruba man among the 7 majors that executed the coup. It is possible that his family would have been in distress over the period of his absence from home, years of incarceration in prisons, and the period of his involvement in the war. Not long after he settled back at home, he was again arrested on the orders of the federal government of Nigeria. He was again kept in prison. He remained in prison until 1st October 1974, when he was granted presidential pardon and amnesty along with others by the head of state of Nigeria, General Yakubu Gowon. On 16th October 1974, he was finally released from prison and asked to go home. He then went back home and reintegrated into the society till his death on 21st February 2007 in the course of a protracted illness. This is the story of Major Adewale Ademoyega, a major of the Nigerian Army who had a progressive career in the army, but whose career was derailed and eventually truncated. Analysts have stated that if nothing had come in between, Ademoyega, like his other contemporaries in the army, would have attained the enviable rank of general in the Nigerian Army. Ademoyega was from Uderemo in present-day Ogun State. In fairness to him, there is no record of his execution of any of the persons that lost their lives in the January 1966 coup. As noted earlier, the role given to him in the coup was for him to mount the console at Radio Nigeria and announce the success of the coup. But the coup was not successful, and for this reason, there was no opportunity for him to make the anticipated radio announcement. Thanks for watching this edition of Back in History, and do remember to follow the page or subscribe to the channel for regular notification on every new video. I am your friend and host Ekemi Udim, wishing you the best of time as you continue to journey with me in this mission for the discovery, documentation, and preservation of the history of Nigeria, Africa, and the world.